Hey everybody, what's up? It's Miss M.
And it's Miss P.
How's everybody doing tonight or this morning? Whatever time it is for you, wherever you are, we want to know that we're grateful for you joining us. So, if you've joined us before, or probably wondering, well, where's your song? Well, here it is. What's the hot sauce? 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 Yes. We're going to tell you what the hot sauce is for Miss P. Please tell everybody what we'll be reviewing today.
Today we are going to be reviewing The Fall.
The
From
Fall.
2006, yes.
That's right. The Fall, the amazing movie by Tarsem. So, as you already know, we like to rate films based on our hot sauce chart. Okay? So if you're new, then please allow me to explain to you what our hot sauce chart is. At the top, we have the Carolina Reaper. This is the hottest you can get. This is the best. This is winning all the awards if it has exposure. This film leaves nothing out. Below that is the Ghost Pepper. The Ghost Pepper is a great film. You love it, but it might be a single element or two that it's missing. Then below the Ghost Pepper is a habanero. It's a good film. It's good. It's not great, but it's good. You liked it. Then there's the jalapeno. The jalapeno is just like, yeah, well, meh. And then at the bottom is the bell pepper, just a complete ugh. Okay, you want your money back. You're angry. You want the time that you spend watching it back. You have nothing good to say about it. With that said, Miss P, how do you rate Tarsem's The Fall?
I'm giving it the best thing that we got, which is the Carolina Reaper.
Carolina Reaper. All right. Love it, love it. Want some more of it. Honestly, Miss P, I agree with you. Okay, I completely agree with you. I'm going to rate it a Carolina Reaper.
This is the third movie we've both been up there with. So, yeah.
Yeah, so, if you've been following us, Miss P and I, we have differing opinions. So that's it. Yeah, this is definitely a Carolina Reaper. So you know that we need to justify what we're saying, right? We have to explain, and that's where P&M's movie criticisms criteria comes in. Miss P, can you tell them about our criteria?
Sure can. At number 9, we have Do We Like It or Do We Love It? Number 8, is it historically accurate? Number 7, did it strike my emotions? Number 6, did it keep my attention? Number 5, what are the production elements? Number 4, what is the quality of directing? Number 3, what is the quality of acting? Number 2, what's the sound quality and effects like? And number 1 on the list, ding, 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 cinematography.
That's right, y'all. That's right. That's Miss P's favorite, cinematography.
Yes. But we're going to start at number 9 at the bottom, and we're going to work our way up to number 1. So, Miss M, did you like it or did you love it?
I loved it. I feel like I went to the Louvre and had the pleasure in partaking and seeing all of these masterful pieces of art. I felt like I was seeing a visual representation on film of art. It's like, and all film is art, but I really do feel like perhaps our director, Mr. Singh, he went to a museum, saw all these paintings and said, you know what? I want to take these paintings and turn them into moving images. That's what I kept thinking when I was watching this film. From the very first scene, I felt like it was more than just cinematic. It was just so artful. I loved it.
And here's a little tidbit of information. In the very first scene, they are playing Symphony Number 7 from Beethoven, the second movement, and the song matches what you see. So not only is it moving visually, I know I'm getting a little ahead of myself, but not only is it moving visually, but it's moving Like it makes sure emotions rise and fall with the music. And everything you see on the screen, you hear it in the sound.
That's right. That's right. I couldn't agree more with you, Miss P. The music that they chose, it was spot on. It carried you. It added to the emotion. It was a true accompaniment. I loved it. So let's just go ahead and move on because there's so much to say about this. Now, historically speaking, this is a fictional film. This film is a fantasy. Okay? About a young man who he's a stunt man, okay, during the time of silent films. And I don't want to say too much because I'm trying not to give any spoilers, but he's going through some mental health issues, okay? Some very bad mental health issues that really do help to propel and move our story forward. So when it comes to being historically accurate, we just like to talk about the history behind the movie if it's fictional. So let's talk about some of the history, Miss P.
So this movie to me is very historically accurate because it's in the 1920s. So people were, it was about a migrant. Basically, it's a migrant family that moved from India to California, to Los Angeles at the time. And they were picking oranges. And the little girl, she fell, she broke her arm. That's why she was at the hospital. I also don't want to give away spoilers, but you have to just a little bit. So spoiler alert right here. He was going through it because he was a stunt man. So his big stunt was he was going to jump off of a bridge onto a horse. So when he did that, the horse bucked and he missed the horse and went straight down into the river. And it basically broke his back and he couldn't feel his legs. So he was laid up in the hospital. So this little girl, she's curious. So she's wandering around the hospital, and she comes and she finds Roy.
That's right. Our little Alexandria, played by Cantinca Untaru.
And she was Romanian. And she was 6.5 years old when she did this part.
Yes, our little actress. She's so cute.
And here's the thing. She couldn't speak a lick of English at all. She only spoke Romanian. So for this film, they taught her, the actual director kept her away from everybody else and taught her English. But he said in his own words that she started sounding like she was Indian from India, like speaking like he was speaking. So he said that he hired Romanian people to come in to talk to her in Romanian so she could still keep her accent and not lose her accent.
Yeah, because that's how much exposure she had to him. He was working with this little actress a lot. And
oh, sorry. I was gonna say, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but let's back up. Is this historically accurate? Yes, because when he when the doctor came in the room and showed him the x-rays, he threw them up against the wall and they shattered like they would in 1920 because it was glass then. It was made out of glass. The x-rays were made out of glass instead of being, plastic.
Yes. And so this is Roy Walker. This is our male protagonist who's telling the story, played by the actor Lee Pace. Yeah. So I really liked his work. So we'll talk more about him. So I do agree with the fact that yes, we're talking about the silent era film, and I remember the director saying that he wanted to keep it that way. He wanted to set the film there because it was, well, you had no genres, right? But we'll talk more about that later when we get to the directing because I have so much to say about it. So much.
Number 7, did it strike your emotions?
Yes, it did. I love the story. We all love stories though. That's why we all watch films, right? It struck my emotion because I love the colors. I love the composition. I love the shot design, the acting. I kept my attention, and Cantinca Antaro's portrayal of our little actress, her portrayal of Alexandria, she to me was just so cute. When it comes to the casting of the film, and Tarsem Singh was spot on. He had his little actress he knew, And she was just the cutest thing to me. I kept watching the film and I kept thinking to myself, oh my gosh, so cute. She's so cute. Those cheeks. Those are the loveliest little cheeks and the little dimples, just adorable. And her acting, she was sad and everything. Oh my goodness, so lovely. What about you, Miss P? How did it strike your emotion?
Loved it. One of my things that I wrote down, I actually wrote this time for this movie, was that he said to her, everyone dies. And it's not just, and he said, everyone has to die. That's just how stories are. This is my story. And Alexandria said, but it's my story too. And just that right there, it kind of broke you, because I don't want to give too much away of the film, but a lot of the main characters were going through a whole bunch of distressing things. And you have to keep in mind, this is a little girl who has grown close to this man who's telling her the story while they're both in the hospital.
That's
And
true.
it struck me so hard, because he basically is like, no, I want you to see this. Grow up, grow up. No, everybody has to die. Everybody dies. That's just the way of life. And she was like,
Yeah.
no, it's my story too. I can tell it too. And so when he was talking, she was talking. And so there's a part of the movie where they're both talking at the same time. When I tell you, it gets you into that whole thing of your emotions racing, because you don't want to see what's happening happen, but you understand that it has to happen that way to complete the story. That's
It
why
does.
it got into my emotions.
That's right. And in the film, she's 5 years old.
Mhm.
So he's saying this to a 5-year-old. He's saying, everybody dies. This is life, little 5-year-old girl. And she doesn't accept it. And she does look at him as a type of father figure,
Mhm.
very strongly so. So it definitely struck my emotions. I loved it. But moving on to number 6, Miss P. Well, I guess we already know, but let's
Did
do
it
it. Did it
did
keep
it
my
keep my
attention?
attention? Jinx, you gotta buy me a Coke. Okay. So it kept my attention the whole time, from start to finish, start to end. The movie was an hour and 47 minutes, which is a lot better than what we watched previously, which was Furiosa. So if you haven't heard that, then go back and listen to that, and then come back to this, where you can be happy.
Are you still putting out some shots on Furiosa, Mad Max Saga, Miss P?
Look, boom, 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 boom.
Come on, I wouldn't say it like that about Furiosa. No, but anyways, you gotta go back, like, goodness, it's like the next week we're reviewing another film.
Like I said, it's gonna come up for a while, because it was
God,
horrible.
oh
Um,
my goodness.
but did it keep your attention?
But wait, yeah, it did. But I gotta say to the audience, to understand what Miss P is saying about Furiosa, go and watch that episode, please. Okay. No, yes, it kept my attention. I really love the master shots. It looks like such a nice place. I feel like I want to go there. I feel like I want to go and I want to visit. So when you talk about keeping keep my attention. When they say location, 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 they definitely mean it. They shot for 4 years in 24 different countries. And when I was watching this film, I was thinking, oh my gosh, who did the location scouting for this? Who found all these places for them to film? This is just so picturesque, so sublime. I loved it.
See, you got to understand, the director of this film, and I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I can't help it, because we're almost there, but we're not there yet. So let me back up. What was the key production elements that you liked this week? Listen,
The production elements. This film didn't have the biggest budget,
it was
but
30 million.
$30 million, but he talked about sleeping on the floor.
That's because he sold everything. It took him over 20 years to make this film. So when I tell you he sold everything, he basically said everybody gets paid the same. So there's no, oh, this person gets paid more than me, so they're more important. No, everybody got paid the same across the board. Everybody.
Everybody got paid the same way. Everybody had to fly the same class. So that tells me that despite the $30 million budget, it was a tight budget. When people are paid the same across the board, same class, you talking about sleeping on the floor, had to sell everything. This film wasn't a cakewalk. This was a passion film.
Pretty much, because he even said, I became obsessed with it. And then he said, then I became possessed by it because I wanted to make something that was going to stand out amongst everything else. And he did. He made one of the best films to me that is now probably in my top 30 movies.
Yes, Tarsem Singh.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, Tarsem Singh, yes, he did his thing. Yes, did he? He did. And when it comes to production elements, location, oh my goodness, I just kept thinking production value, production value. Oh my gosh, look at it. And our cinematographer, we'll talk more about our cinematographer when we get to number one, the cinematography. But the director and the cinematographer work together to often put together the shots. They wasted no space. They were there in these locations and they got their shots. They said, we're not wasting this. Let's showcase where we are. The island, that little island surrounded by the water. And then when they were in the desert, but then they ran down to that lush green area where they found the earth people. I call them the earth people. So there's a whole bunch of people that come up out of the ground. It's amazing. It's amazing. It's very amazing, very amazing. And his name is, I believe it's the Palm Collector, played by Jed Clark. This man who wakes up out of a tree. And wow, it's just I really like that part where he woke up from out of the tree. That was interesting. And he led them to the earth people that came up out of the earth and the ground and was guiding them to the different places.
Well, here's the thing. He went there because those were his people that actually he ate part of the map that was poisonous. And while he was like, come with me, because the only person that could understand him was Charles Darwin. Nobody else understood what he was saying. And so when he went to the lush green area that was beautifully shot, beautifully done, the people were in mud. It was beautifully done. And basically, the map appeared on his body, and they healed him from that poison by singing the song. So basically, the map was on him, and they healed him, basically, because it was showing you where the poison was going. Like every time you look down closer, it would show you where the poison was going, and the map would appear there.
Yes, and I would like to correct myself. It's hard to sell because he had so much makeup on, and his had a really good wig. And
And it was
so
a
I
great
got
wig at that.
it really was. And so I got the actor wrong. So my apologies to you. This is the Mystic. And his name was Julian Bleach. He's the one who went to his people, the Earth people. I call them the Earth people because they literally come out of the Earth. And I think you're right. He went to his people because he was literally living inside of a tree. And he had the birds, so the birds would have a place to live inside of his body. So he was taking care of nature
Yes.
and using his body as a refuge. Very
Okay.
interesting.
Now, here's the creme de la creme. How do you feel about the directing?
There are very few directors like Tarsem Singh that come along and do something so masterfully and so artfully. I wish that I saw this film when it came out. It says 2006, but there are some sources that say it came out in 2008, mainly 2006. But I love the costumes. For me, the costumes are so wonderful. It's a little garish, but it's supposed to be because he's telling a story to a child. So it has to be colorful. And I like how they were just so colorful and how the story was done. They start off with Alexander the Great, and Alexandria says the story is stupid to Roy. Okay, because Alexander, he pretty much pours out all of the water in the desert, and she's like, they could have just taken a sip each, right? So he starts telling a different story, and you have Lee Pace, who's Roy Walker, but he's not just Roy Walker, the he's also the masked man too. And then you have and then next you have, let's see here, you have Robin Smith, who is Luigi. Okay, he does your explosives, right? You have Leo Bill, who plays Darwin. Okay, he's in explosives. He's your explosives guy, right?
No, no, no. Darwin is the naturalist.
Oh yeah, that's right. Robin Smith, Luigi, he's the one.
Mhm.
He's our blow up artist. What do you
Yeah.
call those?
Explosive artist.
Explosives artist. That's right. And Leo Bill, Darwin, he's a naturalist. He's an artist. He's always painting,
And he has a
drawing.
monkey with him.
Yeah, he has his best friend, the monkey, and then you have our actor Marcus Wesley, who was a former slave and who has freed himself from the bondages of slavery. And then you have our actor Jita Verma, who was the Indian man who had a beautiful wife and she was kidnapped, and because she wouldn't show love to her kidnapper, she killed herself. And all of these men have one thing in common.
Revenge.
They revenge for Governor Odious. They want to get him because he is corrupt. So I really like the story, and I really like how it's interwoven with what's really going on in the hospital. What about you, Miss P?
So let's not forget the man. So the mystic was the man with the teeth.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not forget. So there was a man that would always, whenever she would get in trouble, he'd be like, "Come with me, sweetheart. Come." And he would be like, "Okay, come on. Let's go here. Like, let's get away from the trouble." And she was in a place where she shouldn't have been, and she saw one of the kids die, and the mother was, not overreacting, but was like, "Get up. This isn't funny anymore. Get up. Get up." And the little boy was dead, and she had an accident, and she peed in the floor. And the older man said, "Don't worry about it. I've done this a lot." And he's like, "All you got to do is just take off your clothes, let it dry, and then put on some more clothes. And then you'll be okay." And then he taught her the famous words. Do you remember the famous words?
Googly googly?
Yep. And that was to make all the bad things go away. So every time she said that, all the bad things will go away.
That's right. Because the very same characters that were in Roy's stories, they were in the story. They were in real life. It's kind of like they're doppelgangers.
Pretty much.
And because they're doppelgangers, because they're mirroring themselves, they bring in elements into the film.
And his twin got killed by Governor Odysseus. And so he then pledged his, revenge to him. I mean, like Miss M said before, the Indian married the most beautiful girl like ever. And basically she got kidnapped and she got put in the pit of despair. And because she couldn't take it anymore, she jumped off and killed herself. Then you had Luigi, then you had Doran, then you had the Mystic. So in reality, the mystic was the man with the teeth that taught her the magic word. The Indian guy was the guy that was helping her pick oranges. Luigi was an orderly.
Mhm.
Darwin was an orderly. And the African man was the ice deliverer guy. And the father figure was Roy that she had grown close with.
Yes. And let's not forget our nurse Evelyn, who was the woman that the masked bandit fell in love with,
Yeah.
played by Justine Waddell. Yes. And so she was the nurse. She was a nurse in there too, putting makeup on her face. And Alexandria says to her, "Why do you put it on? Why are you putting that on your face?" She says, "To be pretty." And then she puts a little rouge. It's actually lipstick too, that she's actually taking some of that red and putting it on her cheeks to give them some color. And she puts a little bit on her cheeks. too. A very little amount because, she's 5. And so she's the love interest, but she's not the most ideal love interest because their relationship just really doesn't work out. But at the same time, though, I will say this. Do you remember when they found her? They thought that they had Governor Odious.
Uh-huh.
And then this little boy comes out, and then, okay, because they're ready, because Luigi's ready to blow everything up with his sticks and dynamite, right? And then the woman comes out behind him, and then her costume in itself, gorgeous, very nice and very beautiful. I really liked it. And the Maxed Bandit steps forward, and rather, no, that's not how it happened in the film. He says, "She's mine." And then all the other men, they just step back. And then he walks up to her and picks her up and runs off with her, and they leave the child in the middle of a desert alone. And I'm like, really? So you just decided she's mine? So, essence, the Max the Bandit and the crew, they kidnapped her.
Yeah, well, she already knew who he was when he said, "I'm the masked bandit." And she was like, "The most cruel and blah, blah, blah man ever?" And he's like, "Yeah, that's me."
And again, spoiler alert, it doesn't work out. Well, of course it didn't work out. You just can't say, "She's mine," and then, kidnap her and then expect things to work out. Okay? Because, I mean, come on. Did we not learn our lesson? Did we not learn our lesson? When a man lost his wife, he lost his wife. Okay? All right. The Indian, he doesn't really have a name. Okay, that's what he's known as, and that's what he's credited as, literally as an Indian. That's it. And so, do we not learn our lesson when you kidnap women? The relationship might not work out, but nonetheless, her costumes and her makeup and her hair was very beautifully done.
Let's not forget a side character. Okay. So part of the directing, right? Now, this is very important. There was a hypochondriac. Okay. So in the 20s, I don't understand what was going on with this man, but he seemed to be like a hypochondriac. And so what they did was instead of giving him actual medicine, they gave him sugar pills.
Some placebo.
Uh-huh. They gave him sugar pills. And Roy, basically the main character, had the little girl, Alexandria, go and steal the man's sugar pills because he thought it was morphine because he wanted to kill himself because he couldn't walk. He couldn't feel his feet. So he thought he was paralyzed from the waist down. And basically he's telling her the story. And he's like, "When I fall asleep, I don't want you to see me like this. I don't want you to see me like this. Go on and don't come to see me tomorrow because I don't want you to see me like this." So basically, the little girl goes, gets the sugar pills, gives them to Roy. Roy is thinking, "Oh, finally, I can kill myself," basically, is what he was trying to do because he didn't want to be a paraplegic. And so you go through that whole thing because basically he's using that little girl. He's telling her these stories so she can go get him morphine. He's basically manipulating "Oh, you're like my dad." Basically, he was working off of that. Like, "Oh, you're like my dad. And because you're like my dad, I'll do whatever you say." And
Yeah.
so basically, she does that thing. She's like, "But Roy can't sleep. Roy can't sleep." So she feels bad if she goes to steal some more morphine out of the dispensary place, and she winds up hurting herself even worse. She cracks her skull open. And that whole montage where she cracks her skull and it doesn't show like the surgery or anything. It just shows the claymation, people doing stuff to her. Like they crack open her skull and they're looking at the map. So she's still thinking that she's in the story. She busts her head open really bad and she hurts her shoulder even worse because her arm was already broken. So she
Yeah.
hurts even worse and she cracks her skull. Basically, it's a claymation montage of everything that they had done to her or everything that she felt that they had done to her. So when she wakes up, Roy is right there waiting for her to wake up and he is drunk. And when I say drunk, he's pissy drunk. And this is where from probably about 15 minutes ago where we were talking, he was so drunk. That's where he was like, everyone dies. That's just how the story goes. It's just how the story goes. And so she starts crying. No, don't do this. You don't have to do it like this. You don't have to. He's like, no, I have to. He's crying. She's crying. Then that really intense scene of he's talking and she's talking and they're trying to duke it out and figure out why. And she's like, no, don't kill him. Basically, because you're like my dad. Don't take this away from me too. Because her dad had passed away. So she was like, don't take this little thing that I have from me. You're like my dad. Don't kill him. Don't kill him. Don't take him away from me. And so he feels bad and he doesn't.
It's that. It's a very sobering dose of reality that you need a little bit about that because you become an adult and you grow up and the world hits you in places the world it doesn't care. It's gonna hit below the belt. The world doesn't follow rules like per se in matches, but that's and let's not even go there because people break rules all the time in sports like boxing, especially there are cheating tactics there. So, but that's the world. The world doesn't care. The world doesn't care if it hits you while you're down on the ground. He's depressed. His career's done. His girlfriend is like, bye. What life is she gonna have with a man who's a paraplegic? And life is hitting him hard right now. Very, very, very hard. And then there's this 5-year-old who's saying, no, no, it doesn't have to be this way. There is still life. And even when he tells the story, those pills come into the story. Those pills are there. He's taking the pills, and then when he takes the pills, the Maxed Bandit drops them. He drops them, and he says to his love interest, who is also Sister Evelyn, dressed nicely in her purple, beautiful dress, I don't want you to see me like this. So the same thing he said to the little girl, or rather what Roy said to the little girl, is what his doppelganger, the Maxed Bandit, says to Sister Evelyn. I don't want you to see me like this.
Okay. Now we're gonna do something a little different. Because we've already talked about the quality of acting, we've talked about the sound quality and the effects. We're gonna get to number one.
Wait. Acting. We didn't really talk about the quality of acting.
I mean, we did, but we didn't. But okay, we'll go back to it just because. But the quality of acting, superb. I don't understand how this wasn't nominated. It was not around in the theaters for too long. Here in the United States, but in India it was, and in the United Kingdom it was. It was also shown at the Toronto Film Festival, which made it even better. But the quality of acting, how he cast everyone was wonderful. Like, I believe that the movie that he casted should have been Oscar nominated, Emmy nominated. Like, it was that good of a movie. Because the quality of acting, you don't see that from little kids. You really don't.
Mm-mm.
She carried the movie, and then to actually not have English as her first language, and she was learning and she was navigating the English language, that made it even more believable because little kids don't know everything and they don't know every single word and they don't know what this means or that means. So that right there struck out to me that she didn't know a bit of English. She only knew Romanian. And the fact that she learned it made it even better. Go ahead, Miss M.
So for the acting, I would have to say, half the battle of acting, especially when you have certain characters together, is chemistry. The chemistry between Roy and Alexandria is just, you feel like they are father and daughter. They have that connection, although he does in the beginning want to build rapport with her so he can get her to get drugs, yeah. But you could feel the chemistry. I was really wondering to myself, wow, how did Tarsem Singh get them to have this chemistry? What was the process of his casting? Because you listen to directors talk about chemistry, and you might bring in one actor, and you might bring in another actor and see how if they naturally vibe, if they have a natural connection, right? And then if they do, and you can carry that over, and then they can act, and then of course you want to cast them because there's that chemistry that's there. And I love the chemistry between their acting.
Well, you know what the
And
director said? I'm sorry to cut you off.
oh, that's fine.
The
What do you say?
director said this: I kept them apart so it would be just as unique experience as it would be for us. I kept them apart so they wouldn't see each other. So if she sneezed, he would just go with it. Or if she said something a little off, he would just go with it. Like he kept them apart. So when they were together, it was a genuine connection that he was making.
So basically, he made sure, or rather with his casting and everything else, that they did have a natural chemistry and a natural liking, but keep them apart so that they can't continue that. So that way, when they come together, they're like, magic, 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 making magic, magic, magic. And, being her age, she would love to talk to him. So it will be, and I think it would be more so our 6.5-year-old actress at the time. She's like, it is 2025. She is all types of grown now. But for our Cantinca, she would definitely pull that acting out of him because the way she looked at him, and the way he looked at her, I would be like, well, this might be father and child in real life. And the way he looked at her and acted with her so much as Roy, it was so nice so that when he was his doppelganger and he was like the masked bandit, I found myself not quite liking the masked bandit. And I didn't, and he was, to me, not as sincere as Roy. And I get why. That's why he wears the mask. So you don't really see what's going on beneath it. This is a hurt individual. And the masked bandit represents how hurt he is, how aloof he is. And our little actress portraying Alexandria pulls out that humanity. And you can see the difference between these two characters that are being portrayed, Roy Walker and the Masked Bandit by Lee Pace.
But my number one thing, cinematography. Let's talk about the beautiful shots in the castle when they were getting ready to get married. Well, it was a monastery. And he said they got kicked out of there 3 different times, but they finally was able to get the shots that they needed and they got out. That is the most beautiful. The blue under the white, under the architect, like that was just a well done shot that made my head explode because I was just like, it is beautiful. It is beautiful. And the dress that she had on, gorgeous. The mystic, he had the yellow painted across his forehead. Beautiful. It was just a beautiful thing. Like everybody had their own unique thing on at the wedding. And I loved it.
Oh,
Cinematography,
yeah.
10 out of 10.
Yes, it appears as though for her costume, she had, they're spot on. I really would love to know more about their production design and just the costume design. I saw some interviews with Tarsem Singh, and I saw an interview with Lee Pace. I would like to hear more from this perspective of the production design, and everything else. But you know what? As he more than likely he had his hand in everything, really. Everything. And so I know that he's definitely heavily involved in that. And our cinematography was done by Colin Watkinson. So Colin Watkinson, wow, that is cinematography. That's everything was so artfully done, the shots, sweeping motions, everything. So you've seen Colin's work, definitely, Mr. Colin Watkinson. He's gone on to do things like Outstanding Achievement in Cinematography, an episode of series for non-commercial television in The Handmaid's Tale, which is pretty good. Have you started watching The Handmaid's Tale? Or
Yes,
have
I
you
love
watched
that
it?
movie.
It's a really good movie. And
I
ladies and
mean, it's
gentlemen, if you
a
haven't
show.
read the book, oh yeah, that's right, that's right. There's a movie, but the movie isn't. I think it came out in the early days, and now you have the show. That's right, and the show is good. I'm a person who's like, okay, that's not in the book though, but I thought it's really good, and if you really enjoy it, Definitely read the book. Is Margaret Atwood. She is the author of this book, and also read it because it's a banned book, a banned and challenged book. You know, those always catch my interest. But anyways, he did the cinematography for The Handmaid's Tale. He did win in the Chicago Film Critics Association Awards. He was a 2008 nominee for Best Cinematography. Huh, really? A 2008 nominee? Who won over him for which film? Is what I want to know. He's won Primetime Emmy. He went on to win Primetime Emmy. And let's see, in the Full Through these awards, he was also 2009 nominee for Best Cinematography, and for the Austin Film Critics Association, he did win. He was a winner. Yes, yes, yes. I'm like, come on now, come on, come on. And in the Rendezvous Film Festival 2019, mind you, he became the winner for Best Cinematography.
See, he had it in him the whole time.
The entire time. So yeah. So go ahead, Colin, and also yeah, Tarsem Singh, Mr. Tarsem Singh, you did your thing. That was awesome. So shout out from Miss M and Miss P. Oh man, it's just awesome work. It's just so beautifully shot. You can see the production value in it. Anyways, you know what? We need to talk about a little bit more about the story arc because we talked about the story, but we need to wrap it up more neatly. We have our beginning, and we have our beginning of the story, which is literally a broken man from doing his stunts, broken, which led to him being a broken body, which led to him being broken mentally, meeting this girl with a broken arm, right? And together they forge a bond, and this propels us to the middle of the story, the height of the story, that where she's saying to him, this is not what it needs to be. It doesn't have to be this way, right? It doesn't need to be this way. People don't have to die. But how do you think the story ended? Do you think that the ending, the beginning and the middle, that we completed a full story arc?
The ending was just as good because he eventually heals. He's able to walk and he does more stunts where he doesn't get hurt. And the little girl said, I saw him and I had to make sure it was him. And I watched it over and over and over. And that was Roy. And he made me laugh. And so the little girl was basically like, listen, it didn't have to end this way. And it didn't. She healed him.
Mm-hmm.
Her persistence healed him. Like she was very persistent on, you don't have to be like this. You can do things. You don't have to be like this. You can get up and you can walk. You don't have to be this way. And so the
That's right.
ending matched the everything that he, at the beginning, everybody was broken. The old man was broken. His hypochondriac roommate was broken. He was broken. She had a broken arm.
Mm-hmm.
And the story played out. Yes, people do pass away. Yes, people do have things happen to them badly. She had another accident. Things happened to
Mm-hmm.
her badly. But at the end, they healed each other. Everything came together and it was a solidified heal. It was a healing that took place.
That's true. Sometimes we need there's a thin line. Do we call it the naivete of children or the innocence of children, and that purity to tell us, no, it's not over. I know you got hit hard. I know when you fell down, your head smacked the ground. I know it feels like everything is done. I know it feels like everything is over, but I promise you what you're feeling right now is finite. That these are temporary emotions, that things are will get better. And of course, she didn't say it like that because it's a 5-year-old, but that's what I felt like she was saying. I know, it's a rainy day, it's night, but morning will come. It will come. And I think that's a message that a lot of people need to hear.
That it's not over until God says it's over. That'll
There's
preach.
more to
That'll
be
preach.
done. So that's just the only thing I wanted to add to that because I just wanted to put that in there because I liked the story arc. I liked the beginning, the middle, and the end. I liked how we had our character in there, the drugs. because I feel like the drugs are a character. They're a supporting character, the drugs, because they push the story forward so much, and and it leads to her brain open. And then you're right, like it's really amazing work, Tarsem. I hope we hope that we get to see you make more films. I know they said another one like this can never be done, but I think that it can be done, It can. But the thing about masterpieces is that it takes a master to make one, right? And a master needs a canvas. A master needs tools, and a master needs paint, and a master needs time to craft and to work. So, we just need our masters, but it's hard because a lot of our masters are wrapped up in the politics of film, right? There's what I'm saying is, the green light and the red light in film, like with dun dun dun, Furiosa, a Mad Max saga. 10 years later, we're making a film. You know, there's just some red tape that you had to get through. And yeah. But anyways, I guess that's all I have to say. And do you have to say anything else, Miss P?
Come check us out if you would like to do that. That would be lovely.
Yeah, come join us. Come join us. Follow us and start a dialogue with us. We would love to have a conversation with you. Drop some nice comments down in there. And let's engage one another in nice conversation. So I guess that's about it, right, Miss P?
That's right, Miss M.
All right, everybody. I'm Miss M, and I'm out this piece.
And I'm Miss P. Bye.
Bye.